The day a dying human asked us not to avenge him. The galaxy learned the most dangerous thing about humanity. They could turn grief into an army, and enemies into allies. I am Sereth of the Vare Archive, and before the human named Jonah Vale died, I believed the galaxy was too old to be surprised. We had the Kharid Dominion for terror, the Rune Choir for wisdom, the Thylan cartels for greed, and my people for memory. Across 10,000 mapped systems, every species knew its role. Borders shifted, treaties broke, fleets burned, then diplomats bowed, rebuilt, and lied again. That was civilization. The humans were late to all of it. They arrived from a blue world with laughter and formal hearings, paint on cargo hulls, and a habit of naming warships after poets, storms, and old dead cities. They were short-lived, noisy, physically unremarkable. Dangerous only in the way fire is dangerous when it is still a spark. But there was a rule about humans. No one explained it to me. No one needed to. Never force a human to choose who matters. I thought it was superstition. Then Jonah Vale came to Selen Reach, and the Kharid made their mistake. Jonah was not a soldier. That is the first truth you must understand. He came to Selen Reach carrying no weapon, only a sealed proposal meant to end the grain blockades strangling 3 border worlds. While admirals argued over shipping lanes, children were rationing dust. Jonah walked into that chamber smiling like a man arriving late to dinner. The Kharid envoy, Vortan Hex, despised him instantly. Perhaps it was the human calm. Perhaps it was the audacity. Jonah listened while Hex threatened sanctions, orbital seizures, and selective bombardment. Then the human adjusted his cuffs and asked one question. "Are you done pretending starving children is strategy?" Even now, I remember the silence. Hex ordered the arrest before our translators finished the sentence. Jonah could have fled. Human escorts were waiting outside the station ring. Instead, he stayed. He handed the treaty case to a terrified Thalan clerk and said, "Get that to someone brave." We thought that was the brave part. It was not. Because when Kharid security dragged him from the hall, Jonah looked back at all of us, Vare, Rune, Thalan, even the dock-born scavengers in the gallery, and smiled as if he knew something we did not. 3 hours later, the station alarms began to ring. At first, we assumed it was a human rescue. That was our second mistake. The alarms were not for incoming ships. They were for outgoing messages, thousands of them. Every relay in Selen Reach lit at once, flooding the lanes with one recording, one timestamp, one impossible request. The Kharid had executed Jonah Vale in a holding cell beneath the station. Not publicly, not lawfully, quietly, efficiently, as empires prefer. But what Commander Hex did not know, what none of us knew, was that Jonah had activated an emergency broadcast the moment they laid hands on him. His final minutes crossed the galaxy before his body was even cold. He did not beg. He did not curse the Kharid. He spoke through split breath and failing light and said, "If they kill me, don't strike for me. Finish the convoy, feed the worlds, then stand together so they never do this to anyone again. Not avenge me, stand together. That should have killed the moment. A grief without vengeance fades. It always does. But the convoy launched anyway. Then something stranger happened. The Rune opened safe corridors through disputed space. The Thalan waived docking tariffs. My people released sealed war records proving the Kharid had broken 43 treaties in secret, and human ships still had not arrived, which left one question hanging over every channel in the dark. What were the humans waiting for? They were waiting for us. That was the revelation, not tactical, moral. Humanity had not built its strength on bigger fleets or older weapons, though they had both hidden deeper in their docks than anyone guessed. Their real weapon was far more terrifying. Humans made other species remember what cowardice looked like. Jonah's wish spread because it gave every world a choice that felt like judgment: help the convoy, or admit that children mattered less than fear. Stand beside strangers or confess that the Karad were right about us. We had mocked humans for being emotional, impulsive, tribal, but they carried loyalty like a contagion. One human died, and suddenly millions of beings who hated each other found themselves moving in the same direction. By the time the first Terran fleet translated into the Reach, the galaxy was already changing formation around it. I saw their flagship, Mercy of Earth, emerge beside Rune lantern carriers, Thalen freighters, Ver monitors, and even 2 dissident Karad destroyers whose crews had mutinied after hearing Jonah's last words. Then the human admiral spoke across all bands. "You were supposed to stand apart. Thank you for disappointing them." That was when Commander Hex understood. He had not killed a negotiator. He had martyred a signal. The battle for Selen Reach did not begin with a shot. It began with formation lights, thousands of ships, different designs, different creeds, different languages threading the same black. I watched from the archive gantry as the void bloomed gold, red, cobalt, white. A galaxy that had spent centuries circling itself suddenly moved like one body. Then the Karad fired. Rail bursts, plasma arcs, carrier swarms pouring from the shadow of their siege moons, and humanity answered. Not with fury, with certainty. Terran guns hit like collapsing doors. Precise, rhythmic, merciless. Rune harmonic sails bent missile clouds into harmless fire. Thalen tug haulers rammed open blockade lines to shield refugee transports. Ver target webs turned chaos into pattern. Even the mutinous Karad ships rolled and burned against their former masters. The station shook, glass sang. Warning sirens drowned beneath the roar of coordinated intent. This is the line I wrote into the archive that night, and every schoolchild now recites it. The galaxy had rules. Humans had will. Commander Hex tried to flee through the lower gate. He almost made it. Then the convoy he had tried to starve, slow civilian barges, patched and ugly and brave, crossed directly in his escape vector, forcing his flagship back into the kill zone. Poetic, human somehow. When Mercy of Earth fired the last shot, the Karad line broke like rotten ice. And in the silence after, with wreckage drifting like dead stars, the food convoy kept moving. Jonah Vale got his wish. First, the children ate. Then the tyrants fell. The Karad Dominion still exists, but it kneels now at tables it once overturned. Selen Reach became the site of the first unified accords. We built Jonah Vale no statue. Humans asked us not to. Instead, every year the convoy runs again. No speeches, no flags. Just ships from 100 worlds carrying food through the lane where one dying human refused revenge and demanded something harder. Unity. And whenever a young archivist asks me why the old rule about humans exists, I tell them the truth. Because if you make a human choose who matters, they will answer. Everyone.